so intimate. I didn't know what it was going to look like. How is everybody?
Oh, we don't need the shots?
We got it.
Oh,
hey.
that was easy.
We thought we had to take pictures and stuff before.
Yeah, I was ready to pose, so. Well, thank you all. And can you join me in welcoming Rachel and Lindsay one more time all the way from
Thank you,
guys. Real Love, the novel that is going to be available to everyone tomorrow. You pre-ordered it, read it, loved it. We're going to hop right into it. And I guess start by you sharing a little bit about what you would like people to know about the book.
Yeah, so Real Love, like, where do I start? I'm trying to go back. When I decided to write my book of essays, I also pitched the idea of what became Real Love. And so I've been really excited about this because I always wonder, and I'm sure you guys have too, about the what if. When I said yes to going on The Bachelor, it changed the entire trajectory of my life. And I almost said no. I mean, was really looking for no's. And so I thought, what would it be like to explore the no? And then also in the book of essays, that was about me. And I was telling my story, and I was trying to be careful not to tell other people's stories. So there's certain things I put in. But in fiction, you can talk about it all. And nobody knows who or what. And so it was really fun to explore that. But this is a romance novel. It is women's fiction, but it's also a story about self-discovery. And so Maya, who's the protagonist, who I always have to say is loosely based off of me. You see her say no to going onto Real Love, this reality TV show. So she explores the no. She stays in her box. She does life according to that life plan. And then her friend says yes, and so then she sees her friend go on the show. So you see these two stories happen, but then there are also other stories. There's great characters. It's really rich, and it just gave me, maybe it was therapeutic for me to explore the what if I had said no part. So it was really fun to do this project.
Yes, no, I know it's a fictional book, but I felt like I could resonate with a lot of what you were saying because having been in a similar situation, I felt like I resonated with Maya. And not to give too much away, but why now? Like, what prompted you to want to speak on everything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, first I wanted to get the book of essays out of the way. I wanted to tell my story. You know how it is when you give up control.
Right.
You want to give the opportunity. You wrote your own book. You want to give the opportunity to tell your story. But then I thought, okay, now it's time to tell the fictional side of it. And also, I have been obsessed since I'm getting older with like these, I don't know if you guys are watching Flashman in Trouble. This came after, or this movie, Somebody I Used to Know, just like questioning life. And I'm obsessed with the song Landslide. Mm-hmm. And I think I made up why Stevie Nicks did the song, but I'm not sure. I can't find it anywhere. Maybe I dreamed it. But I interpret the song as that she's talking about she was going to give up music, and she had built her life around the whole art, and she didn't know if she was going to give it up. I don't know if that's really true, but you start to question, like, what if I built my life around the wrong thing, or like, it was the right thing, or what if I almost said no, and or I said yes, but what if I had said no? So it's really just thinking about all that, and I feel like when you get older, you start to question things in life, and so, yeah, now was the time to do it.
Do you feel like when you talk about the different events that took place in the beginning of the book, do you feel like you had that internal struggle when you were coming up with that decision for yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if you read the book of essays, I have these life plans, and my life looks nothing like the life plan. The man looks nothing like the man that I was supposed to be with. And so I think about that a lot. And it was really hard for me. I went on The Bachelor 31. And it was hard for me to say yes to going on it because I was that person who was a pleaser, who wanted to check all the boxes. I was doing exactly what I said that I was going to do.
Yep.
And I was with the guy that I said that I was going to be with, and I still didn't feel fulfilled. So that's kind of Maya. That's how you find Maya. Maya has the job. She's got a good relationship with her family. She's living in a great city. she's dating her high school college sweetheart. She's dating her college sweetheart, and so that was me. And I easily could have stayed in the path that I was on, but instead I just decided to be, I guess, a little rebellious and make that left turn towards Bachelor Land.
Yeah.
And then I turned away again.
Why do you think that is, though? Like, why do you think that, I guess, you personally felt unfulfilled?
Yeah, I think because I always ask myself the question, whose life are you living? And I thought, since I was 7, I said I was going to be a lawyer. I wanted to be just like my dad. And I had made up my mind, and I was sticking to it. I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm a Taurus. Like, we mean what we say. We're just loyal in every aspect of life. And so I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I was doing it. But as I was continuing to go through life, I remember I got to college, and I majored in government, because that's what I wanted to do, to be a lawyer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so much more fun than this major. I gotta get out of here. Right. And so I switched to sports management, but not without first convincing my father that that's where I was supposed to be.
Yep.
I had to do like a whole PowerPoint thing to convince him. But I still promised I was gonna go to law school. So then I went to law school. I was doing all those things. Like I said, I was dating the guy that, checked all those boxes, but I still felt very empty. When I would sit in my office, I had been working 5 years at that point as a lawyer, I found myself constantly looking out the window. And I was just wondering about what was on the other side of this, and leaving the job, and why I felt so empty, and why I was staying in this dead-end relationship. And saying yes to going on The Bachelor, obviously I didn't think that was gonna make me feel fulfilled, but what it did give me the opportunity to do was overcome fear, which you see Maya go through and other characters go through in the book. And so it gave me that opportunity to be fearless for the first time, and to be a little selfish.
Yep.
And to say, this is what I'm gonna do because I wanna do it, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. And it paid off.
It did. I think that's such a unique way to look at it, as someone who ultimately did decide to go on The Bachelor. What was it like diving into an alternate route and discovering what life could have looked like if you didn't make that decision?
Oh my gosh, it was fun to see what life would have looked like. And I was a hot mess, you guys, in the moment when I said yes to going on The Bachelor. So who knows what my life, I was like chasing that 5-year relationship. He didn't want me, I still wanted him. Like, I got a dog, which did change my life, but like I was like just like saying, grasping at straw for anything to make me feel complete. So yeah, your question was what was it like exploring?
Yeah, exploring like that alternate reality, like
Yeah.
what it was like not taking that step and living it through a friend.
Yeah, it felt safe because
Yeah.
I was living it in a fictional way, but like I said, it felt therapeutic because I got to explore that avenue of what could have been. And then without giving too much away, I almost feel like I can't say it because I give too much away. But at the end of it, you just go through on this journey with Maya, and even though she made one decision, you see how, she's exactly where she's supposed to be. I'll put it like that. It's a good way to put it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to give it away. I hate spoilers, but this was a page turner, and my first rom-com. So. Yeah. First one, but definitely not the last. And then thinking more in your writing and your character development in Maya, what was it like exploring her friendships, like with her sister and her love interest, Kai? Yeah.
Oh, Kai. Wait till y'all meet Kai. So I'll start with the friends.
Okay.
It was fun to navigate. I'll tell you this, during the writing process, there were more friends in the book, and then we narrowed it down because, there's certain things that you want to focus on, and you don't want things to get too convoluted.
Right.
But what you see, and I guess I feel like I've experienced this in life too, as you take a certain path in life, sometimes your friends don't always come with you. Or you learn certain things about your friends that maybe you didn't think were there. You learn them, who they are in a different way. And so you see Maya explore that relationship, and also the relationship with her sister. Her sister is somebody, she thinks she understands her sister one way, and through certain experiences, she learns way more about her sister. I have two sisters, so I know how that can be when you get older and you go through some of the same things together. You learn a lot about one another. But her friendships are very important to me, and so friendships, you see Maya navigate these friendships and realize what's important to her at the same time. Kai, there's that person who comes into your life who just takes your breath away, sweeps you off your feet, gives you all the feelings. The energy's right. Like, you know what I'm talking about. You know this person. You're picturing them right now. It's your Kai. That is Kai in the book. And it's exactly what Maya needs, but it's not what she expected. And so you see her explore this encounter with Kai, and you see the influence that he has. Like, every character in this book is influential to Maya, the protagonist in the book. So I don't want to give too much away, but man, when you meet him, you will not forget him. I'll probably name my first child Kai. Boy or girl.
Are you hinting at something? Or?
No.
I'm just making sure.
Makes it sound.
Okay, I'm just making sure. But no, I thought it was really interesting how it was a true opposites attract. That's where I'll leave it at. We're talking about Kai. But
and sometimes you need that person
Yeah.
to bring certain things out of you or teach you things about yourself that you didn't even realize were there. My aunt Lisa, she's a character. She says, people, I'm sure you've heard this phrase too, she was the first person to say it to me, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or forever. And so you don't know what Kai is in her life, or that person who's a Kai equivalent to you, but it's always meaningful when someone like that comes into your life. So, yeah.
That's real. You talk about, throughout the course of the book, how Maya envisions her life and how it takes a completely different direction. And I'm sure a lot of people in this room have had similar situations. They might be in a similar situation now. What advice would you give to someone who's going through something like that?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked that question because, as I'm talking about this book, people say, well, who's the book for? It's exactly for that person. I feel like whether you're in this place now, you've been through it, or it's coming for you. You're gonna come to some type of crossroads in life. Y'all couldn't hear me? Wow. It's on.
Yeah.
You're gonna come to some crossroads in your life, in your relationship, in your friendship, with your family, with your career. For me, before I went on The Bachelor, I feel like I was at a crossroads at every single one of those. And you see, again, Maya go through that in this book. So I would say, whatever place you're in, when it comes to a crossroads, you have to make a decision, and you have to be fearless when you make that decision. And I feel like up until 31, I was completely living in fear. And that's some of the struggle that you see Maya go through in this book, because it's easy, it's comfortable to live in that safe place. And I had been doing it for such a long time, and it had worked for me until it didn't.
Yep.
Until I really sat with myself in therapy. Therapy really made me realize that I was like, I am not as okay as I thought I was. I was like, I have it together. If you read my book of essays, I went to therapy to impress the guy that I was chasing after. And I ended up saving myself in that relationship instead. I chose me. Anyways, I'm getting off track. But if you're reading it, and that's why I feel like, well, when you read it, we're all going to read it.
Exactly.
It's very relatable because you've experienced that at some point in your life. So the advice, back to what you were saying, is to just go for it, because you never know what's on the other side of saying yes. You may fail. It may not work out. It might not have been the right timing, but you won't regret it, and you won't live in a place of wondering, which is what Maya does in this book. So I say just go for it, because the only thing holding you back from going for it is fear on what's on the other side of it.
That's a bar. Wow. Getting back to the relationships in the book, the female relationships, can you describe in depth a little bit about how you got the inspiration for that? because there were some characters that I felt some type of way about.
Ooh.
Bailey?
Oh, yeah.
I'm good on Bailey.
Bailey.
I'm good on Bailey.
Well, the characters aren't based on a specific person.
Okay.
But it's a culmination of things that I've been through with friends. I've lost friends not along the way. Like, I'm 37 at this point. Not the friends that I've had in, high school, college, workplace. Raven. It's really not based off of one person, but it is just about, with Bailey specifically, it's just about friends who they're people who you don't think, they're not who you thought they were.
Right.
And it's hard to talk about because I don't want to give too much away.
Right.
But we all have those friends in life, and it's hard for Maya to go through certain things in that relationship and to learn that somebody that she thought was for her wasn't always for her.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the opposite of that is Delilah.
Oof, I love Delilah.
Yeah, we love Delilah.
That was great.
Our first Latina bachelorette.
Yes.
Somebody had to do it. So Delilah, they're a close friend group, and Maya sees a lot of herself and Delilah. They're a lot alike, but Maya said no.
Right.
Delilah said yes.
Yep.
And so I think that's interesting. Not that it's a mirror, but you see that kind of parallel of, what could have been. And she sees how free Delilah is by the decisions that she's made. And she's seeing how happy her friend is. And so it makes her question certain things in her life. I really hope I'm not giving too much away.
No, you're not.
Well, actually, I'm not, because the ending is so good.
The ending is crazy.
So good.
The ending is crazy.
But yeah. So I think it's important to show that there's a difference. They were all so close, but then there's a difference in the relationships and the dynamic in the friendships. And they all start to see each other in a different light.
They do. Yeah, you brought it all back together. The setting. Why did we choose Miami for the setting?
I mean, I lived in Miami for 2 years, and so we thought it would be fun to explore that city. I mean, in real life, I'm not a huge Miami fan. We were just talking about this.
Yeah.
But, I wanted Maya to have some similarities to my life. I wanted there to be some Easter eggs of my life sprinkled within this book. I'll tell you Miami. I'm not going to tell you about all the other ones that are in there. But we thought it was just fun. Because a lot of people ask, are you Maya? Loosely based, but that was a similarity.
Yeah, because after I finished the book, I texted Rachel. I said, "Hey, Maya." But what was your writing process like?
Yeah, so first off, I always say this, I am not a superwoman. I did not do this book all by myself, so shout out to Alexa Martin. I wish she could be here. She is so incredible, so talented, and she's an author in her own right, so you have to check out her books and her writing. So I worked with a wonderful team. They're here. And then also with Alexa as well. And it was fun to, I have never written fiction before, so learning there's certain rules with the genre and learning you couldn't do this. I'd be like, I don't want it to look like this. It's like, well, Rachel, this is kind of how it is at times. Developing those characters of the friendships, the family members, putting some of my life into it was a lot of fun as well. The boyfriends, which Vaughn is a combination of several exes. Several of them. None from the show.
Yeah.
The ones I had in real life. But that was, does that sound bad? Oh, I just realized how that sounded. That's not what I meant. You know what I mean. Before the show, the ones before the show. But it was really, really fun to develop that and build the story and put all that together.
Yes. Getting back to the female characters, one of my favorite characters outside of Delilah was Ella. And Ella is your sister, and y'all's relationship is, I feel like
It says y'all, your sister. I'm Rachel.
I apologize. Maya's relationship with Ella. Let me backtrack. Maya's relationship with Ella is very similar to most siblings, where I'll let you describe it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have siblings, you get it. I have 2 sisters. I'm a middle child to the fullest, and Ella, I think all my sisters are different.
Yes.
So I always say one was the pretty one was the cool one was the smart one. Really, they're all of those things.
Right.
But what I love about Maya and Ella's relationships is I say that Delilah's kind of a mirror to her, but so is Ella. And she thinks, and she's older than Ella, so she thinks Ella, she gets Ella, that she's in a totally different place than Ella is, and really Ella knows a lot more than she thinks that she does.
Low-key.
And they're a lot more alike, and maybe what she, gosh, I hope I'm not giving too much away. Maybe what she thought she didn't like about Ella, it's more of like I don't want to say a jealousy, but she wishes that she could be more like her. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. And you probably feel that with your siblings. And she learns a lot from Ella when she thought she couldn't learn anything from Ella because she is the older sister and she has her life together. And Ella's the free spirit, the one you want to be with. Everyone loves, everyone, she has no enemies. Everything works out for her. You know that annoying person. Like everything goes their way.
Yep.
And Maya has lived her life in a completely different way. And so that's why she thinks they're not alike, but they really are more alike. And you see their relationship change throughout the book as well. And her relationship with Ella helps her discover more about herself in the best way.
Yes. So the title, Real Love, what does real love mean?
I mean, well, Real Love's the name of the show.
Right.
And I think it's open to interpretation.
Okay.
But there's really not a deep meaning of how the title came. Actually, there was a different title. But we chose Real Love, and I think it's fun. It goes with it. I mean, there's the Mary J. Blige song, which kind of it gets in your head. It's catchy. Yeah. But I like the title. Like I said, I think, what is real love to you? I don't want to define it. It's how you see it. It's how you feel it.
When the first time I saw you walk in, I didn't have my phone, but I was going to queue up Mary J. Blige.
Yeah. See?
When you are looking back at what you want people to take away from the book, what would you say is the biggest theme or something that you hope that people glean from the book?
Oh, I mean, I talk about self-discovery because that's a lot of what this book is. But also just, it goes back to the fear, I mean, I just can't stress enough how I was doing everything I said I was going to do, but I wasn't living the life that I really wanted. And the reason this book even came about is because I always checked myself by going back to that girl who was too scared to live the life she really wanted for herself. She was scared of what her parents would say, what her job would say, what her friends would say. And so that moment humbles me. Like, I'm always like, okay, today is Monday, it's this time. What would that girl be doing if she had said no? And that's what I wanted to explore in this book. And so that's what, any chance I get, even when I used to do college tours and speak, I would always say, whose life is it that you're living? Ask yourself that question. It's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to take a risk. You never know what the reward is on the other side. It might just be a lesson, but it might change your entire life. I mean, if I had said no instead of yes, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't have married Brian. Who knows? I've probably been married to that dead end. I was about to say some bad one. He's great. He's with somebody else. I would have been married to him. Yeah. Maybe, but I feel so much happier, so much more free, all because I took a chance. So that's what I would encourage everyone to do. Take a chance, live the life that you want, and don't let anybody else define that life for you.
And not to harp on it because you just answered the question, but how liberating is that feeling?
Oh my gosh. I thought it was liberating to write the book of essays. I was like, oh, I get to tell my story. Yep. Y'all can miss me with this and y'all can miss me with that. And it was very therapeutic. Yep. And it felt good to have control over my story. But this was almost magical in a way. I was talking, it's like you almost as I've been talking, I realized certain things. So when I was in high school, I dated this guy from the art school. Oh. I went to private school, and the cool kids went to the art school like a couple of blocks away. And it was like fame. They were singing in the halls, they were playing their instruments, they were reciting their monologues, and my boyfriend was an actor. And through him, I learned, I changed the music that I was listening to. We used to go to poetry clubs together. I would even write a little bit. At that point in high school, I was really into creative writing in my AP English class. And so I remember feeling so free, and it felt so good and liberating, not to say the same thing over again, but it did, and it magical.
Yep.
So then I went to college and I went to law school, and I always say law school stifled my creativity. And so it felt good. You know, that first yes to be on The Bachelor felt very freeing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to write again about, you know, this book in a fictional way, because it took me back to that time when I felt so good when I was writing and doing creative writing or doing poetry. And don't ask me to recite anything. I always say my vows were poetic, okay? Like that's where it is. That's where it lives.
So outside of writing, like what would you say is your creative release? Like how do you exercise that muscle now?
I'm terrible at it right now. Like writing absolutely did that.
Yep.
I wish I could be better. I was actually having this conversation with a friend, Kimberly Snyder, about doing better and releasing things.
Mm-hmm.
So I talk to myself a lot in my head.
Yeah.
I think that helps me.
Yep.
Also meditating when I get around to it. Yoga. I do mindful walking. Do you guys do that? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not familiar with mindful walking.
I probably have the definition wrong, but I mean, I have 2 dogs, so I walk my dogs. But like, I just walk and I think and I meditate and I sometimes I pray. I put my AirPods in, but I'm not listening to anything. I just am having a whole moment with nature and talking to myself as I'm walking.
I like that. We're gonna do some rapid fire questions.
Oh, I love rapid fire. Let's go.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite character to write?
Maya.
Interesting. Your favorite rom-com?
Book?
Both.
So right now, and I've been reading it for a while because it takes me forever. I'm reading 7 Days of June. You guys, it's so good. I have it with me. And it just takes me, I put a book down, I start reading another book, but it's so good. I'm so good. But I also, when writing, I didn't want to read other books because you don't want that in your head.
Yep.
So right now, because that's currently what I'm reading. I love My Best Friend's Wedding. And it has a good soundtrack. Yep. It's important.
Favorite season of The Bachelorette? Card. I'm just reading the card.
Mine.
Okay.
And to be honest, I really haven't. I mean, I guess I saw Becca's, maybe a couple after me, but last season I watched was yours.
I respect that. This is actually a fun fact. The last person I talked to before I got my phone taken away was Rachel.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, remember when I called you on my...
No, I remember when you called, but I didn't realize,
Yeah. Okay, favorite date night activity?
Oh my gosh. Brian and I are really into this game called Rumacube. Does anybody play that? That makes us sound so boring.
You're gonna have to explain that, yeah. You're gonna have to explain that one.
It's like numbers.
Okay.
It's like numbers, but it looks like dominoes, but it's numbers. My mother-in-law introduced it to us. We fell in love with it. So to sit at home, because I'm always on the go, and so is Brian with his practice, and so I feel like we're always just like moving in different lanes. So to be at home, so we love to binge a TV show or playing Rumacube or some other game like that is the best time.
Sounds like a blast. Okay. If real love were a movie, who would play Maya?
Tika Sumpter. I've already thought about this, and I need to let her know that. Seriously.
Okay.
I see it.
Who would play Kai?
I don't know.
Okay.
In my mind, it's like a Jason Momoa type. Like, think of like that, but he might be a little too beefy.
Wow.
But like, I'm thinking the long hair, kind of, or just like tousled in a man bun. He's got to have a man bun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having read the book and being able to, I'm just imagining everything you're saying now. It helps a lot. So Thank you. Who would be the lead on the soundtrack? Like who would do the music for the movie?
I mean, it kind of sounds right to say Mary J. I mean, like a remix to Real Love, because that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
But I don't know. That's a good question.
this is who would play Bailey?
Who would play Bailey? Okay. She's like a Regina George for some reason, a little bit. So like I was thinking Rachel McAdams, but I maybe the girl from Sex Life, College Lives, Girls with Sex. Her.
I see that.
It's her.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. What was the process like? How was the process different from Miss Me With That and Real Love?
Miss Me With That was emotional to tap into, to go to childhood, to go through relationships, because the process with Miss Me With That, one of the things I talk about, and I'm sure you get this too, when you're the lead of Bachelor, Bachelorette, they put you up as if you're perfect, and we're not perfect.
Right.
And you're the most desired man or woman in the world.
Right.
We were. But I hated this image that we were so perfect.
Right.
And so I wanted to show that there's a messier side to me. So going back and exploring some of those relationships and going through the hurt and then deciding what I did want to put and that I didn't want to put in the book was a lot. Not telling family's business was a lot. So what's your question? Was it hard? Which one was harder? Is that what
Well,
your
just
question?
like
Or was
what was different about
The
it?
process was different. So that was different. It was more emotional. Real Love was fun because it's fiction and it's escapism, and I got to create the world as opposed to have to go back and maybe relive the highs and lows. So totally different.
I'm not trying to draw any connections, but did you run Real Love by anybody before?
Not a one.
Okay.
Not a one. I didn't have to.
Okay.
Like I always say, it's if you think that that's about you, that's your fault. There's no, it is all fiction. If you see yourself in that character, that's on you. You need to work that out.
Well, honestly, I think that just plays to how job you did writing it, because I felt like I resonated with a handful of characters.
Really?
Yes.
Not Vaughn.
A little bit of Vaughn. I felt attacked a little bit.
It's not you.
But and then your sister, in the way that she was I don't want to say too much, but in the way that the love-hate in there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's all I'll say about that relationship.
Okay. Yeah.
What are you reading right now?
7 Days of June.
Okay.
I'm also reading The Sword and the Shield, another book that I go back and forth. It's so good. It's by Dr. Peniel Joseph. It's an autobiography with Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and you see that they're more alike than you think. Very, very interesting. And he has, if you listen to Higher Learning, Van introduced me to Dr. Joseph. Thank you. And we have him on the podcast. I think we're going to bring him back every month, and he's a Longhorn. So it's a really good book. So those two right now.
Okay. I think we're going to take some questions for the audience, if that's okay.
I'm feeling spicy, so let's go.
Yeah, we're going to take some questions for the audience. We normally, how it's gone in the past, we usually get note cards, and I can kind of censor out any outrageous. But hey, tonight is Rachel says she's feeling spicy, so I guess if anyone wants to start us off, yes, ma'am, in the front.
Hi, Rachel. So I'm Bernice from the Black Bachelor Babes, formerly Black Bachelor Babes, now the Black Roses. We talked to you in Clubhouse a few times, so I adore you. Aside from finding out you were supposed to be my Spelman sister, that kind of broke my heart a little bit, but I just wanted to know, my mom just got approached about being on The Senior Bachelor, and so I'm just kind of wondering, would you recommend any people of color, especially Black women, going on the show moving forward? Either one of you guys are both leads and had different experiences. What is your recommendation for people of color going on the show? Oh, yeah.
So the question was, for those who are tuned in virtually, would one of the members in the audience, mother, was approached about being on the Senior Bachelor, Bachelorette spinoff, and they were asking if we would recommend people of color to go on that show, and Rachel was about to answer that question.
Nice. You are in charge. First off, exciting news, because I feel like a lot of people, I mean, I'm not as tuned in, but a lot of people were wondering, what is it called? Senior Bachelor. Is Senior Bachelor still happening? So how exciting is that? I might watch that.
Those are always better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People say, would you have your sister go on or a friend? And I would say no, normally. I would not recommend it. Yes, it worked for me, but it's like everything had to align perfectly for it to work. Now, I will say, what we don't talk about enough is I learned a lot about myself on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. It was self-discovery. You are talking a lot to a producer. You're stripped away from everything. So you're dealing with like your own thoughts and desires. And I walked away saying, I know exactly who I am and I know exactly what I want in a relationship. I feel like Senior Bachelor is gonna be different, or at least that's my hope. So I would say yes. Honestly, out of pure curiosity, I would just tell her to go. We have no idea what it's gonna look like, but I also feel like senior bachelors and bachelorettes aren't gonna take, I'm gonna cuss.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're not, you know what I mean? They're not gonna stand for anything. I feel like they're gonna tell the host off.
Yeah.
Like, and think about family. Think about Family Day.
Oh my God.
Family week. You got kids,
I can't
grandkids.
imagine.
Oh my gosh,
Imagine.
it's gonna be so much fun. She should do it.
Yes, ma'am, in the front.
Is there anyone that you're nervous about reading this?
So the question was, is there anyone that Rachel's nervous about reading? And
No, not at all. It's fiction. It's fiction. I was with Miss Me with that. I really was. And I did have some exes that hit me up. But actually said that I was truthful. They knew who they were.
Yep.
And that's what I'll say about the fiction book too.
Okay, there we go. Yes, ma'am, right there in the back.
So you talk about how in fiction you can talk about whatever you want, and that's unlike with your first book, Miss Me With That, where you had to give up more control. Are there any storylines in real love that we should maybe look out for that you couldn't go into with Miss Me With That?
So the question was.
Go ahead, you can read the question.
So the question was, are there any relationships from real love that I guess Rachel had to walk the fence along, sharing too much information about?
Stuff she couldn't go into. Miss Me With That, because she had less control, and now she can talk about whatever she wants.
Interesting.
I honestly, there isn't one character that's based off of one person. Each character really is a culmination of people in my lives, of different events that happen. So honestly, no, it really isn't that. I know y'all like to speculate, but it really is a combination of people.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hi, my name's Kayla. I'm a first-year med student here in the city.
Hey. There we go.
You mentioned feeling like you lived in fear until you were 31. Can you talk more about that and maybe give some advice for ladies that are in their 20s, prioritizing their career, but still have big love life plans? Go for it.
Yeah, I live in fear because I feel like I was the child who always did what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I did other things, but I'm just saying. I always, I said I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to follow after my dad's footsteps, and that's exactly what I did. And I was so eager. It got to the point where I was more excited to please him than I was about the job that I was having. And so, if I could go back, honestly, I probably still would have gone to law school, but I might have not practiced law. I love the skill set that I did. So, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about whose life is it that you're living. Ask yourself that, because you might be surprised at the answer that, you come up with. I thought I was living the life that I wanted to, and I really wasn't. So I would just say, ask yourself that. Maybe go to some therapy. Therapy helped me. Maybe a guidance counselor helps, but talk to people and just make sure you're doing things the way that you want to before. I don't think it's ever too late, but before you just wake up and you feel like you wasted your time or you wasted an opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Rachel, you've done nonfiction, you've now done fiction. What's your next creative endeavor that we can look forward to, whether literary or otherwise?
We got to turn this into a movie,
Ooh.
a limited series.
I like that.
We'll see. Yeah. But you know what? I really hope this isn't the last novel, because this was a lot of fun, and just like to create, like going back to that, creating your own world. It's pretty cool to be able to do that. Now I understand the Marvel folks in the room. Like, my podcast host is such a Marvel fan, and I'm not, but I get how fun it is to jump into that world. Like, we were just talking about this, watches one Ant-Man movie and thinks that she's an expert at this point. Like, I think I know everything. But I really think that's fun. So I hope to do something else, and I hope to continue to create. I really do.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Rachel, I feel like you genuinely have made, like, out of the many people that have come out of Bachelor Nation, you have made such, like, a unique and, like, prominent name for yourself. And it's kind of like a two-pronged question. Do you ever, like, regret the association or, like, dislike the association that you still have with the franchise? And then two, like, what has been, like, your most rewarding accomplishment that you feel like really has separated you since? Because you've done so much since leaving the franchise.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. So the first question, I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people think that I hate being associated with The Bachelor, Bachelorette, the franchise, or being called the first Black Bachelorette. That is so that's how you all met me at first. So I'm just not one of those people to say like, oh, I'm above that, or oh, that's beneath me. It's a part of me. I really did learn a lot about myself as I went through that. I found love on it. I made lifelong friendships from the franchise, and I met, like great people, and my goal was to pave a way for other people, for there to be more diversity in the show. And then you had the Bachelor Diversity campaign and other things pop up. So I'm proud of those kinds of things. And so I never get upset by someone introducing me as former Bachelorette or ABC's Bachelorette or whatever it may be. I really don't, because that's a part of me. And I don't think that we should ever deny that. The most rewarding thing where I said I made it, I'm a big sports fan, so I'll say the first thing. Being on ESPN and because when I first came, and I talk about this in my book, when I first came off The Bachelorette, I was feeling myself a little bit. We all do. We all do. And I was. We do. And it gets the best of us. And so I remember I got this call from ESPN, and I was like, this is it. I made it. They know that I majored in sports management. I focus in sports law. They've seen it. I'm gonna get my dream job. This is so easy. It's all happening. And I get there, and I'm just overwhelmed. I'm a huge fan of everybody that I'm seeing, of being in Bristol, Connecticut on the campus. And I'm sitting there talking to them, and they're like, we're just fans of the show. Like, we just wanted to meet you. And it was the most humbling experience for me. And I'm so happy it happened. First off, I was not ready for that job. I was not prepared, but it gave me the opportunity to prove myself. And so a couple of months later, maybe it was even a month later, First Take came through Dallas. They were talking about the Cowboys. They brought me on. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm sitting at this desk. I'm sitting next to Stephen A. Smith. And then he said something, I smarted off like I typically do, and someone who is now a mentor to me was in the audience watching, and he said, like, who are you? What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to do something like this. He said, a year from now, you'll be sitting in that seat. And a year later, I got to host. It was like a sink or swim situation. I got to step in as the moderator, fill in for Molly.
Wow. And
it was the most incredible experience. And then after that, I got a contract with ESPN, and I just really, and during that time too, I should say, like was flying myself, to different places. I was doing things for free. I was putting in the work. I was building up a tape to show, that I want to learn, but then also to show that I was a hard worker and I was willing to, start from the bottom up. Like, honestly, who did I think I was as the Bachelorette, thinking I could come in and just be on ESPN? And so, but that moment of sitting in that chair, being in Bristol, Connecticut, saying, welcome to First Take, I'm Rachel Lindsay, was a huge moment for me.
here. Yes, ma'am.
I echo everything you said, and I think your persistence and tenacity is super inspiring. So thank you for everything that you do and the path that you've opened for so many.
Thank you.
My question was actually just about the book. You mentioned that there was a different title that you were going for. What was that, and what made you decide on this one?
Can I say? Sure. Okay. It was The One. That was the name of the show, and it was taken. That's why. So we had to move on. Regroup.
Got time for 2 more. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Rachel. I love you. And the podcast. So I know you spoke about like female friendships and how sometimes they're not a reason in a season. Do we also explore the importance of platonic love and platonic female love as well as just romantic love? Because I know in my own life sometimes it can be more fulfilling. Very important, platonic female friendships, especially as a Black woman. How?
Yeah, you're asking about how important platonic friendships
Can
are?
we explore that in the book? Real love.
Yes, that is explored in the book. Like friendship is definitely a theme in the book, the good and the bad of it. And that was important because I'm like you, I think our friends are everything. And it's funny, when I went on The Bachelor, I was like, I'm in here, I'm open to love, we'll see what happens. I know I'm gonna be the oldest, I'm not trying to make friends, I'm an adult, I don't make friends as an adult, I got all the friends I need in my life, and I am so glad I was so wrong. I have made amazing friends as an adult, and I have relied on those friendships. And I'm sure maybe in your friend group, you got certain friends for this, you got certain friends for that. If I want to be bad and do something, I'm gonna call up this friend. If I need a friend to check me, I'm gonna call this friend. So yeah, I mean, that's why the friend group originally was bigger in the book, because the friendships really were important, and Maya leans on her friends, and they lean on her.
Would we ever see the friends? Possibly.
That's a fantastic idea.
That's a good question.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Claudia from Black Roses, and you're the reason why I started watching the show. You're the reason why I continue. I'm going to be selfish. So my son is a senior in college, and he's about to go to law school. So he's thank you. And so he's applying right now. So he's going to be also an English major, and he is really big into creativity. So you had said you felt kind of stifled in law school, so I'm a little concerned about that. So what are maybe something that you can offer that I can bring back to him to prevent that from happening possibly?
Well, what I wish people would have told me when I was in law school is that you don't have to go to a firm to practice law. There's so many other ways that you can use your skills that you learn as a lawyer, because it really changes the entire way that you think. If you do that, there's so many other ways that you can be creative. I could have just been creative in my career choice. I could have combined 2 things that I love a lot and found a career in that, but I didn't. I was so focused. I was like, okay, go to law school, be on law review, go to a firm, then this will happen. And that's the advice that I was getting for people. So I would just say, you don't have to follow this linear path when it comes to being an attorney. I mean, I used my lawyer skills on The Bachelor, questioning people. So there's just so many different things that you can do. So I would just say this, like normally when people are like, should I go to law school? I'm like, I don't know. But the skills that you learn are so important, and there's so many ways you can apply that knowledge and that degree in other areas that can be very creative. I just didn't do it.
All right, we got time for one more question. I'll have to do rock, paper, scissors or something. There's 2 people. No, seriously, stand up and do rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, stand up. You too. Okay, there you go.
My name is Ariel, also a fellow lawyer. Totally agree. You don't need to go to the big law route. Work for nonprofit and love it. But my question for you is, you're in such a unique position because you have this massive platform, and you're also not afraid to use your voice and stand up for what you believe in. And I think the combination of those 2 is very rare. And I'm curious, what is it that you want to do with your platform? Like, what are the major goals that you have in your life that you want to use?
Yeah.
Take advantage of your platform.
It's a good question. So to answer the part of like having the platform and not being afraid to speak, I've always been outspoken. And I think if I had done this show in my 20s, I might have been different than coming in on my 30s, because I just was so sure in who I was and the things that were important to me. I also want to have family and friends who would check me if I started acting any different. And I also want to be able to look myself in the mirror and know that I stood up for people, or, you know, I fought for certain things. And I truly believe that you're given a platform for a reason. Like, this didn't just happen. I was given it to speak out on certain things, to use my platform to represent other people in various ways. So when I think about what I want to do with it, Bill Simmons, I work at the Ringer Spotify, and I have still admired Bill Simmons. And actually, I'm a heavy note taker in the phone and in the app. And so I had written down people that I wanted to meet, and one of them was Bill. And one day Bill said to me, he was like, don't you want to do something that means a lot to you and that you're really proud of, and that can have an impact and really resonate with people and represents who you are? That's how Higher Learning got started. And I was like, well, Bill, I am. And I wasn't even doing anything. For some reason, I thought I was. And so he introduced me to Van. And like I said, that's how we created Higher Learning. And that has meant so much to me. Podcasting isn't even something that I thought that I was going to do, but the way we're able to address heavy topics, things that we're passionate about, we're not beholden to any type of network, that are meaningful to us, whether it's about politics, current affairs, sports, entertainment, and how that intersects with Black culture has been really meaningful for me. And I want to continue to grow that and do even more with that. We have certain ideas. But I mean, there's more that I want to do. I'm not sure exactly where I want to go with it. I always say everything that I do, I want it to be with purpose, and then I want to be passionate about it. Like, I do stuff with education. I was a substitute teacher. I don't know if people know that, before I went to law school. And so education's always been important to me. My mom's a teacher. My aunts and uncles are teachers. So I want to do things that bring awareness to education, or just support teachers. If you follow me on social, I do things to support teachers. So different things like that I'm passionate about, I want to continue to move forward.
Well, I'm going to end with this. It's evident by everyone who's in this room, everyone who's turning in virtually. Thank you all for tuning in. The people that you have inspired and continue to inspire, the road you've paved for people like myself, the way that you've shaken up network television, how honest and unforgiving you are with your opinions, and you're not only an inspiration to them, but you're an inspiration to me. And I thank you for sharing this tonight. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. And you did a great job. Hand clap for Matt James. The two most polarizing bachelors and bachelorettes.